Today is Dr. King's birthday, so I thought maybe we'd have a racial talk. When I look at the history of this country, the United States of America, I see slavery lodged in its heart like a canker, like original sin, a stain on the dedication to the democratic ideal. We can't erase it. We can't deny it. We never seem to get past it. We can't shake it off, no matter what we do. In one way or another, it's going to continue to eat away at us as long as we exist. Affirmative action is a controversial program. The basic question about it is whether or not it accomplishes what it sets out to do. The main objective of the program is social justice, to correct inequities and disadvantages which certain members of the society have from birth. The certain people are black, and their inadequacies can be traced back to slavery. Because they were permanently damaged by this institution, it's only proper to adjust the system in their favor as a means of correction. Therefore, there were quotas that had to be met in hiring, and it is true that a person who did not do as well on a test may have won a position or a raise or a scholarship over someone who did much better. This seeming injustice is necessary to correct the previous malignant error in the society. We have to do wrong in order to right a previous wrong. After a time, when affirmative action has done its work, it should no longer be required and can be phased out until it is wholly eliminated. The society would have purged itself, it would be fair, and individuals could compete on merit alone. The objection to affirmative action is the obvious one, that two wrongs will never make a right, that it is blatantly unfair, which it clearly is. It has its victims, and they cannot be pleased or compensated. There is the trouble with the benefactors, too. They will not be seen or treated as equals in whatever capacity in which they serve. There may even be questions as to their capacity in those positions. Not really prepared for advancement, they are being elevated only to fail, and if they do fail, then they help to perpetuate the very ethos the program was created to eliminate. Affirmative action comes with resentment, envy, and fear, and these bad feelings may well outweigh the practical effect of promotion. The law has a kind of logic behind it and a decent intent, but in its application it can be self-defeating, a hope for salvation that turns out to be yet another road to hell. Brown versus the Board of Education is viewed as a landmark decision, an Everest in the history of civil rights in this country, an attempt to integrate the people who had been, until that time, separate but equal, supposedly equal. This new law said that separate was not equal, and integration would be the way to effect true equality. It certainly seems to make sense. But we are talking about forced integration, desegregation. Integration is not achieved when desegregation is enforced. It is again a case of inflicting wrongs against a previous wrong, attacking cancer with radiation, chemotherapy, surgery. It's crazy, but it's the best and the only thing we've got. When the Great Law was passed and the National Guard was called out to quell the protesters and to see to it that black children could enter the previously all-white schools, Zora Hurston wrote a letter to a newspaper, vehemently objecting to the law and its far-reaching effects. She saw in the law not just the implication, but the absolute declaration that white education was superior to black education, and that the culture of white people was better than that of blacks, and ultimately, white people were superior to blacks. The new law was deeply offensive to her. She believed that people could be judged and educated strictly on the basis of their merits as individuals. To consider classes or races of people and enact laws that concerned the treatment of people based on class or race was a terrible insult and a grievous error. Her view was definitely in the minority, and Brown versus the Board of Education led to sweeping changes in our society. Did it accomplish what it set out to do? Look at our president. He is black and has ties to many celebrated educational institutions that were previously barred to black people. and his success in life certainly appears to have a positive relation to his educational background. So he would be shining Federal Exhibit 1 in making the case for the law. And he is but one example of this. We have to think there are thousands, maybe even millions more. But Zora Hurston was not wrong. The famous decision did devalue the black education and black culture. And the white people resented the influence of the law by leaving and moving to new locations, the so-called whitopias. As a result, neighborhoods deteriorated and segregation persisted de facto. They called it in practice, if not in law. We try to do the right thing. We'll even do the wrong thing if we think it will help. We've tried to eliminate the terrible practice of slavery and make allowances for its effects. But our attempts and our laws don't always achieve their intent. As is often stated, you can't legislate morality, and the problem is both a moral and a legal one. Though we try to operate for justice, we wind up not aiding those who need it, but only confirming their inferiority or their sure sense of it, and alienating the rest of the population, who enjoy the fruits of democracy and are understandably loath to give them up as a means of sharing them with others. Zora Hurston would say, you can't win by giving to one, having taken from another. That's a double loss, not a gain. The real system of advancement is more painful and arduous than that. And slavery remains a sin and a debt for which there may be no remedy but contrition and forgiveness.